Hey y'all, it's Lindsay. I am going to take you along with me as I share a what I eat in a day video. I follow a ketovore-ish way of eating, which to me is a high protein, low carbohydrate, moderate fat way of eating. Although I kind of, I fudge it on the fat part. It's higher fat, let's be honest. So anyway, let me share with you what I have had up to this point, and then we'll chat. Oh, look at that. We finally got winter. Woke up this morning to 3, maybe 4 inches of snow out there. And yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be a good day. Full pot of coffee. Ta-da! I mean, like, how much more perfect could this morning get? We have snow on the ground, fresh first cup of coffee, very excited. Also, I've got lots of Band-Aids that maybe I'll explain a little bit later. All right, breakfast time. I also took my Band-Aid off. We'll talk about it. So for breakfast here, I'm having 4 slices of the Right Brand thick bacon over here, and I kind of over-fried them in some parts, got distracted with a tiny human, and then I've got 3 fried eggs here that were fried in the bacon grease, so deliciousness. And this is my second cup of coffee. We're about halfway done with that. One of my favorite things about the snow is that my house gets fantastic lighting with the sun and the snow and everything reflecting into my house. I love it. Snow is my favorite. All right, so you've seen my coffee and my breakfast, and I have taken my Band-Aids off. I wanted to share some things about myself. And one of those big things is that I can be somewhat of an absent-minded professor when it comes to the kitchen or just life in general. I can definitely be a bull in a china shop. That is something my father used to tell me all the time, and it is still true to this day. I think what happens is my brain gets moving faster than my body can respond. And so I just wind up creating all kinds of injuries for myself. So a few days ago, I was slicing up some miniature peppers, and as I was working, I didn't realize how unlevel my actual cutting board was, and I sometimes will put a rubber mat between my countertop and my cutting boards to hold them stable. Well, I failed to do that because I was kind of in a hurry thinking I can just do this really quickly and then move on with my life. Well, in doing so, my cutting board slipped as I put some forward pressure on my knife, and I sliced the end of my finger there. And it is now in a position where it does not bleed whenever it gets touched or looked at wrong. So we're going to let that air out and do its healing thing. And then on this hand, yesterday I was reheating some steak that we had. Is it going to look at that? Well, and as I was reaching over the stove to grab something else, I kissed the edge of my skillet with my hand, and that one actually hurt pretty bad. I burn myself often. I get injuries often. I get cuts often just because of my bull in a china shoppedness. And normally they don't hurt that bad, but this one did hurt because it's in a position where my sleeve, the cuff of my coat specifically, continued to rub on that spot. So I put a Band-Aid on it just to sort of alleviate that pressure. I am doing great though. Ultimately, the point of me telling you these things is that mindfulness in the kitchen is a skill that can never be overstated. Today is snow. We are playing in the snow as much as possible today. It is a free-for-all kind of a day where we're going to do a little bit of schoolwork, but we're really going to focus on the snow. It's the first true snow day since this year has come around, since this winter has begun, and we're just going to live it up in the snow. Coming from Wisconsin, we've missed a lot of snow. That was definitely the saddest part to moving here. I think my husband would disagree.
but that's because he was the one that was usually responsible for clearing the snow. And that would take a while back at our old property. But here it's a smaller property, so it doesn't really create as much work in general. Anyway, so girls are playing in the snow already. We're going to just do a few lessons today, like I said. I've got some housework to manage. I'm gonna go tidy up the living room, and when I have some more food or another thought that I wish to share, I'll come back to you. Hey, I am at a weird place right now. First of all, I'm sitting on the floor. I just vacuumed the carpet and it feels so nice, so I thought I would just hang out down here for a minute. I am hungry, but I'm not so hungry that I feel like my stomach is eating my backbone. I don't have any meat defrosted right now, and a few minutes ago I went spelunking through our freezers to try to remedy that because at some point we are going to want to eat dinner. And so I found some chicken thighs that had been in the freezer for probably 4 months and not in a food saver, like vacuum sealed bag. So I'm gonna hopefully use those for dinner. And I also found a ribeye that slipped through the cracks, and that had been in there for 6 months. So I've got that pulled out, defrosting as well. Not sure what we're gonna do for the dinner. And none of those things actually help me right this minute because they're frozen and I cannot eat the frozen meats. So I can force a faster defrost, but it doesn't seem worth it at this point. I mean, it's near 2 o'clock. What time is it? Yeah, it's 5 till 2. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of skip lunch right now because the only things that I have available to me to eat are going to be eggs, bacon, and while eating a whole package of bacon does not sound unreasonable to my heart, my brain says no. Then also I could, those two are options, or doing an old standby of a snacky plate lunch where, you do like the lunch meat and the cheeses and the nuts and the sliced up vegetables with the homemade ranch. Like I used to do that all the time, but I don't know if you're aware or not, but this month, one of my 3 foci is to try to limit my dairy intake to see how that affects my hunger cues, how that affects my overall well-being. I tend to use dairy as a crutch. And so I'm choosing not to do a snacky plate right now because I don't want to fall back into that old habit of just relying on cheese and nuts to see me through just those little like hungry snacky periods of the day. Yeah, so I'm just gonna not do those things. I think I am gonna have a cup of coffee though because it's the afternoon and I've only had 2 cups so far today. I like coffee a lot. I have had 3 tumblerfuls of water. Tumblers full. How do we say that? Where's the S go on that for plural? 3 tumblers full. 3 tumblerfuls. Anyway, of water. So I'm not feeling dehydrated terribly. I know my lips look very dry, but it is also very dry here. Even though the snow is falling, it is very dry. So I am going to go warm up some coffee and have that and see what the rest of the day has.
Okay, choices to be made. Do I make a fresh cup of coffee from the Keurig, or do I use the last bit from the pot this morning? I'm just gonna waste not, want not. Pop this through the microwave and have another cup of coffee. All right, it is almost 3 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and have this little small ramekin of pecans, no cheese, still dairy free. Just need a little bit of something to get me through until dinner time. True story. The only reason we ever clean anything up is to make a pathway for a new, exciting adventure mess situation. Dinner time. I have half of that ribeye I told you about earlier, and I have some pan-fried Brussels sprouts. I am also probably going to have a bubbly, and that is going to be dinner. Alrighty, I have not eaten nearly enough in my opinion, so I have some homemade
eggnog ice cream that I just did my regular homemade eggnog that I have a video on from several years back. I will try to remember to link that. I did blend this up yesterday, which is why it is above the max fill line. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and re-spin this in the Ninja Creamy, and I'm going to probably eat this entire thing. This is made without any dairy, so it does not have any heavy cream like my original recipe shows. And I also did put in some acacia fiber when I was making that particular eggnog. So I'm going to spin that through the Ninja Creamy and have that as some dessert. Oh, whoa. Look at this. This is fantastic. This is creamy. There's a little bit of iciness on the outside, but because I didn't do any cream in it, and I don't believe this batch had any butter in it either. The only fat in this was from the egg yolks in my actual homemade eggnog recipe, like I said, minus the heavy cream. So the fact that I was able to produce such a creamy ice cream-like substance is amazing. We love this thing. All right, this tastes pretty good. My favorite one that I've done so far is probably a cake batter version of this. I have some Loran oil cake batter flavoring. It's not the best stuff for you. It's probably got all the bad junk. I'm sure it's got some yellow dye in it, but it tasted pretty awesome. This one, though, is really tasty without having any kind of extra flavorings to it except for, like, real vanilla extract. It's very delicious, very creamy, but it's wicked cold. I mean, but what do you expect from ice cream, I guess? Well, we did it. We made it to the end of the day. That ice cream was fantastic. Definitely a keeper. I love the fact that it's made with no dairy, which sticks perfectly to one of my foci for the month, like I talked about earlier. And it's delicious to boot. The only thing is after eating probably half of that container, which was probably, I don't know, it might have been about 10 ounces of ice cream, my mouth was so frozen, and trying to talk and formulate any kind of coherent words was a little bit difficult. So I had to wait for my mouth to kind of thaw out. Anyway, the only thing I'm going to have for the remainder of the evening is going to be water, which is much needed because my skin on my fingers is starting to split, which it usually does whenever it's very cold and dry, especially dry in the house. So thank you so much for joining me on this What I Eat in a Day video. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see you in my next video.